Chapter 53. Avataranика, Epitome. I bow down to Sri Ganesh. I bow down to Sri Saraswati. I bow down to the Guru. I bow down to the family deity. I bow down to Sri Sita Ramchandra. I bow down to Sri Sadguru Sai Nath. Sri Sai is truly Brahman incarnate, the greatest among the saints, the Lord Paramount, whose fame has reached every corner of the earth and is the grantor of intelligence and inspiration. I surrender to him with wholehearted devotion. I do obeisance at his holy feet. He removes the fear of this mundane existence, and breaks the cycle of birth and death. In the previous chapter it had been promised to give a review and then a table of contents or index, before concluding the book. Though Pant Hemad said so, it did not happen that way. The table of contents was not drawn up or was overlooked. He who starts the book should himself complete it, by giving the table of contents in the end. This is the usual procedure. But there are exceptions to a rule, and this can be seen here itself. Nothing happens as one wishes. Only Baba's wishes are overriding. Hemad died unexpectedly. Everyone was sorrowful. The table of contents was not to be traced, and everyone was confused. Anna Sahib's records were difficult to find. His son, Sri Gajanan, made efforts to look and gave me whatever was needed. Anna Sahib was thrifty and did not waste even a scrap of paper. He worked with grace and tidiness, as was his nature. He wrote a chapter on bits of paper and gave them, as is, to the printer. Unnecessary expense hurt him. He could not be compared to anyone else. He felt pity for those lifeless, helpless scraps of paper. How would they be uplifted unless they served the lion amongst the saints, i.e. Sri Sai Baba? Hemad must have felt this way and, therefore, collected these scraps of paper, so that they could also serve. That must have been the exalted intention. The last chapter must have been done in the same way, and must have been written on scraps of paper. A lot of thought was given to the problem, yet the index could not be found amongst the bits of paper. The matter was told to Gajanan Rao and others. It was also told to Baba Sahib Tarkhad, the treasurer of the Shirdi Sansthan. All of them were of the opinion that the index should be there. Baba Sahib fixed a time limit and published this also in the Sri Sai Leela. The time lapsed, yet the index did not come forth. Hemad, Govind, was a man of virtues. He knew the Vedanta by heart, which was at his command. His book exhibited the Guru's grace, like Prasad. Incredible was the Guru's grace. Innumerable were the devotees of Sadguru Sai, from amongst whom Hemad Pant was a gem of a poet. Only someone, who was as knowledgeable as he was, would be capable of writing it. The index did not come forth from anywhere. I felt very dejected. I prayed to Dutta Guru, Sri Sai Baba, and pleaded for his mercy. I am dull-witted and insignificant, without studious contemplation or even a trace of knowledge. Being totally devoid of poetic tendency, how could I compose verses? But there was one support that I had. When Sri Dutta Guru is favorable, even the Meru mountain can be lifted as easily as a mosquito. His powers are great. Again I prayed to Umraman Shiva, so that Sai Narayana would become merciful and give me the inspiration to write the index immediately. I do not have the capacity to compose poetry. Sri Guru Raya is aware of my limitations. Placing my head at his feet, I shall begin writing the index. This part of the book, viz. the index, will be composed by Sai Vakratunda, Ganpati. His grandeur is unparalleled and immense. My mouth is only his instrument. In the first chapter is the invocation to the remover of difficulties and the cause of the universe, to the ornament round the neck of Uma and Shiva, obeisance to Sri Ganesha. Obeisance also to the wonderful goddess of speech, full of wisdom, Sri Sharda, who entices the world and is the grantor of whatever is desired. Obeisance to the Lord Sai, the family deity, the relations, the Guru brethren, the saints and virtuous people who are incarnations of God, and surrender to the Sadguru, who is the abode of salvation. By narrating the story of the grinding of the wheat and how the cholera epidemic was removed was explained and the powers and greatness of Sai were described. In the second chapter, the purpose for writing the book is given, also the naming of Hemadpant, the end of the debate of the necessity of a guru and the first darshan of Hemad. In the third chapter it has been fully explained how the permission was given for writing the book by Sai's own words and the story about the Rohela. Next, the reason for the appearance of saints and sages, who are ornaments of the ruler of the world, on the earth, has been explained in detail. And the first arrival of Sai, avatar of Datta, son of Atri, the wish-fulfilling tree, in Shirdi village, all that is described in the fourth. The disappearance from Shirdi village and the reappearance in the company of the Veltodo Patil which surprised all. The gathering of Gangagiryo and other saints, the carrying of water in pots on his own head from afar to create a garden is all fully mentioned in the fifth. In the sixth chapter, the big festival of Ramnavami where Bala Bhuva was the Kirtanakaryo and the renovation of the masjid is narrated in detail. Next is about yogic practices of Samadhi, Khandayog, Dhoti Poti etc. Whether Baba was a Hindu or a Muslim, the unfathomable inner self of a saint, Baba's dress, behavior, giving of medicines, smoking of chilim, caste, dhuni, lamps, his illness, and service to him incomprehensible was the sight of all this. The seventh by the learned poet excellently narrates matters about Bhagoji Shinde's leprosy, the medicine for the plague affecting Khaprade's son and Nana's Pandharpur Darshan idea, the unique greatness of human birth, the description of the mode in which Sai asked for alms, the service of Baijabai to the saints and the offering of food to Baba with her own hands, how Baba, Tatya, and Mhalsapati, all three of them, slept in the masjid at night and Baba's excessive love for both of them, which was identical, and the mutual love of Baba who was the repository of peace and knowledge, and Kushal Chand of Rehta village is all delightfully narrated in the 8th chapter, how greatly Tatya Sahib Nulkar, and Tatya Patil, who were great devotees, as well as the English gentleman repented for not following instructions, how Baba made an offering to the 5 elements before savoring the food which had been given as alms, how Baba was qualified to seek alms is cleverly explained, and the excellent story of how the famous Baba Sahib Tarkhad, the staunch Prarthana Samajist, became a devotee of Sai, wholeheartedly, are all given in the 9th chapter. Yogeshwar Baba's bed, of a plank 4 hands long and a span in width, hung from the rafters, a touching account of when Baba first arrived in Shirdi, how many years he lived there and when he left the mortal coil, though calm and desireless within, outwardly demonstrating a demonic nature, and Guru Raya's unfailing inclination to lead the people together on a particular path. The Sadguru's tremendous skill in teaching the Ved Shastras and the essence of religion, spirituality and the code of behavior, and testing the intellects of the devotees as well as the non-devotees. Baba's usual seat, Baba's knowledge, Baba's meditation and Baba's dwelling, his power and his greatness, are fully described in the 10th chapter. Baba's fame everywhere as being the embodiment of Satchitanand, Dr. Pandit's loving devotion, and the narration of the behavior of Siddiqui, Phalke, his control over the clouds, his incredible power over fire and his protection from strong winds are interestingly described in the 11th. Kaka, Mahajani, Dhumal, Nimonkar, a Mamlatdar and a doctor. Different incidents about each of them were narrated sweetly. And the unique Sai Darshan of the Agnihotri from Nashik, the doubting Mule, a disciple of Saint Gholapram, in the 12th chapter. Bala Shimpi's malaria was cured by giving curds to a black dog, and Bapu Sahib's Butti, cholera was eradicated by feeding him walnuts and pistachios. The Swami from Alandi, who had pain in the ear, was cured only with blessings, and the diarrhea that Kaka, Mahajani, suffered from was removed by peanuts. The devotee Dattpant from Harda, who suffered from a severe stomachache, was freed from his trouble by blessings, in front of everybody, and one, Bhimaji Patil, had severe cough and tuberculosis. He was cured by an application of Uri. All this is narrated in the 13th. Seth Ruttonji, a Parsi from Nanded, a famous businessman who was dejected, was granted a son, placing him in the 7th heaven. How the Saint Mauli Sahib of Nanded, who worked as a coolie and remained incognito, became known thanks to an indication from Sai is the amazing story in the 14th. The Kirtan practice of Narda was told by Baba to Das Ganu, and Cholkar was requited for his vow by giving him tea full of sugar. A lizard from Aurangabad came and met one in the mosque, and the story of their chirrupings is narrated in the 15th. A gentleman, well endowed with wealth and children, came to Shirdi having learnt of Sai's fame, to acquire knowledge of Brahman. One who desires the Brahman should be detached from the worldly life, and the greed for wealth should be discarded, as a first step. But if he could not give a loan of 5 rupees to Baba for a short while, even though he had a big roll of money in his clothes, how could he attain the Brahman? The method by which Sai taught the lesson was beautiful, and Hemad's words are like prasad, a mixture of milk and sugar. This enticing story is in the 16th. The continuation of the earlier story, a detailed discussion of the knowledge of Brahman, total destruction of the greed for money, is the interesting narration in the 17th. Sathe's story about the Guru Charitra, the story about Radha Bai's Upadesha, and the favor bestowed on Hemad are skillfully narrated in the 18th. The detailed narration about this favor, and the in-depth thoughts of Hemad, according to the lesson taught by Sri Sai, are given in the 19th. Das Ganu comments the Ishavasya Bhavartha Bodhini. In that respect he had some doubts which he asked Baba. Baba said that the maidservant of Kaka, Dikshit, would resolve it. The Sadguru's greatness is extraordinary. An interesting narration of it is in the 20th. A virtuous district officer, another learned Patnakar, and the third, a brilliant lawyer, all three were granted favors. as mentioned in the 21st. Mashidamai helps to cross the ocean of existence. It is none other than Dwarkamai. Baba said this to all the people, but no one understood its deepest meaning. The virtues of Mashidamai were praised. Mirkar and Butti were saved from snake bites. Amir Shakkar's rheumatism was cured and he was saved from the danger of the snake. Hemad was saved from the danger of a bite from the scorpion and others from a snake and untimely death. All these incidents are published in the 22nd. How the doubts of a student of yoga were removed. How Madhvarao was cured of a snake bite, dhuni, and firewood, and the killing of a goat are very interestingly described. The respect and glamour of Bade Baba, the lack of obedience to the Guru's orders, his greed for more irrespective of what was given to him, and his dissatisfied nature. Kaka Sahab, the best among the devotees, who had supreme and unswerving faith in the Guru's orders, and how the Sadguru sported with him is beautifully narrated in the 23rd. Making grains of grams the excuse, Hemad Pant was given a lesson that without remembering the Sadguru nothing should be enjoyed, eaten. Sai caused a quarrel between Anna Babare and Maushi Bai, and that uncommon incident of wit and humor has been sung by the inestimable poet in the 24th. A devotee, Damu Anna Kasar, a resident of Ahmednagar, was desirous of doing a big business of cotton and rice. There would definitely be a loss in the business. By eating the mangoes, sons will be born, said Sai, the son of knowledge. All this is described in the 25th. A devotee named Pand, who was a disciple of another saint, was immediately given an indication, which made Pand overjoyous. The son of devotee Harishchandra Pitale, who was suffering from epilepsy, was completely cured by only a merciful glance. Pitale was given 3 rupees and was told that he had been given 2 rupees earlier. Baba told him to worship them. It is a charming narration in the 26th. Kaka, Mahajani, placed the Bhagavad Pothi in the Lord's hands, with the hope of getting it back as prasad, but the Lord gave it to Madhav. Shama, the Pothi of Vishnu Sahasranam, was in the collection of a Ramadasi. Baba took it from there without his knowledge and gave that also to Madhvarao. The story how Sai, the cloud of mercy, granted a boon to Shamrao, Madhvarao, by giving him the Vishnu Sahasranam Pothi is narrated in the 27th. Lakshmi Chand Munshi, Chidibai of Burhanpur and the most virtuous Brahmin, Mega, came to Baba's feet. By giving them all a dream vision, gave them experience in the waking state. Incredible are the feats of the Sadguru Mauli. All this is lovingly narrated in the 28th. A group of bhajan singers from Madras gathered at Shirdi to witness the spectacle of generosity and giving of charity by Baba, the guileless Shankar. The way in which the examination of Raghunath Tendulkar's son and his pension problems were resolved are the pleasant leelas of Baba, and how Dr. Captain Haight, who was a very loving devotee of Sai's feet, was given an early morning dream vision is the graceful story in the 29th. A person named Kakaji Vaidya, a devotee of Saptashringi Devi, was given a dream vision by the Devi, to have the darshan of Sai, the foremost amongst the saints. Shamrao had taken a vow to the same Devi, so to fulfill that vow Shama went to Vani after 30 years. And how Sai spoke come to Shirdi in the dreams of both Seth Kushal Chand of Rehta and the Punjabi Brahmin, Ramlal, is narrated in the 30th. Vijayanand, a Madrasi sannyasi, set out for Manas Sarovar. Baba, Sri Rishikesh personified, held him back at his own feet, and the upliftment of the distinguished devotee Mankar, who hovered over Sai's feet like a bee over honey, and the afflicted, cruel tiger is beautifully narrated in the 31st. The story about four virtuous people wandering in the woods, in search of God, and the darshan given by Guru Raya to one, Baba as he had shed his ego. The unusual episode of the fasting lady Gokhalebai and another similar story told by Sai himself, are sung by Hemad in the 32nd. A friend of Narayan Zani was suddenly stung by a scorpion, while the daughter of another devotee was suffering from high fever. How the difficult labor of Chandorkar's daughter frightened her and how unhappy and worried everyone was. The staunch devotee Kulkarni Sahib, the bhajan singer Bala Bua really understood the efficacious power of the Udi and the enchanting story of the Dakshina of Haribhau Karnik, a devotee full of faith and religious feelings, which teaches a lesson, are all in the 33rd. The great distress of the Malegaon doctor on account of the bone abscess of his nephew, the difficult illness of the staunch devotee Dr. Pillai from guinea worms, the torment of Bapaji of Shirdi, Shama's brother, on account of the bubonic plague of his wife, and the epilepsy of the young girl of Irani, which greatly troubled her. The gentleman from Harda who was in great pain due to stones in his bladder and the difficult labor of a lady from Bombay, of the Kayasth Prabhu caste, the complete removal of the above-mentioned maladies or troubles by the mere application of the Udi without loss of time, are interestingly described in the 34th. A friend of Mahajani, who totally believed in the formless, became a devotee of the form, after only one darshan. The greatest of gurus turned grapes with seeds into seedless ones immediately and gave them to Dharmasi Jethabhai Thakkar, a solicitor from Bombay, a Kayasth gentleman from Bandra who could not sleep at ease, and Bala Patil of Nevasa. Both had experiences of the Udi which are given in the 35th. Two gentlemen from Goa had separately taken different vows, one for getting a job and another for finding a thief. Both had forgotten their vows, but Sai Samartha made them remember. Who can describe the fame of him, who had the knowledge of the past, present and future and was omnipresent? The wife of Sakharam of Aurangabad rushed to Sai's feet for the boon of a son. How her wish was fulfilled by giving a coconut is the story told, with a purpose, in the 36th. Hemad describes the Chavadi celebrations and festivities, after seeing them himself, in an interesting narration in the 37th. After putting different ingredients, a variety of items were cooked in the handi, cooking pot, and distributed as prasad lunch to all. A pleasing narration of it is in the 38th. The elucidation of the verse from the Gita, Tadvidhi Pranipatna, is told to Chandorkar to remove his false pride about his knowledge of Sanskrit, and the king among saints gave a dream vision to Bapu Sahib Bhutti instructing him to build a temple. That is the narration in the 39th. Deo gave a feeding to the Brahmins in honor of his mother's completion of vows, for which he invited Baba by writing a letter. On that day, 3 eminent persons wearing the garb of sannyasis came and had their meals with the Brahmins. It is difficult to understand the spot of Guru Raya. After giving a dream vision to Hemad, Baba came for lunch in the form of a portrait. That is the lucid narration in the 40th. The poet narrates the story of the portrait at length to the devotees. The Sadguru's greatness is inconceivable. The narration is enchanting and witty. Assuming the Rudra avatar and becoming red as a blazing coal, Sri Sai showered a volley of abuses on Deo angrily. The Lord Sai said, "Read the Sri Gyaneshwari regularly," and even gave instructions in a dream about the method of reading. Hemad narrates this in the 41st. The application of the Tripundra by the devotee date, the early warning about Sai's leaving the body, averting the deaths of Ramchandra, Patil, and Tatya, Patil Kote, and the story of Sai Sadguru's leaving the body, which caused deep sorrow among the listeners and disturbed Hemad also. These are the holy stories in the 42nd. The story about Baba's leaving the body, which was certainly incomplete in the previous chapter, is completed by Hamid Pint in the 43rd and 44th. Once when Kaka Sahab Dikshit was reading the Eknath Bhagavat, with Kaka, Mahajani, and Madhav, had some doubts. Madhav Rao clarified the doubt, but Dikshit was not convinced or satisfied. Anand Rao Pakhade narrated a dream and that removed the doubts. Sai Samartha gave an explanation why Mahalsapati could not possibly sleep on a plank hung from the rafters. All stories skillfully told in the 45th. Baba's deeds are wonderful. He remained fixed in one place but roamed everywhere, showing people his miraculous appearances. Strange were his travels to Kashi and Gaya. The gem among saints told Shama to go and attend the wedding celebrations of the son of Chandorkar, and Shama saw Baba at Gaya in a portrait at that time. The earlier life story of two goats was narrated himself by Sai, the threed one. Pleasing, sweet, holy and deep is the story narration in the 46th. Similarly, a story about a snake and a frog, or a greedy money lender and a borrower and their previous lives, is told by Sai, who is truly Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankar. Enmity, murder and debt have to be repaid, and for that there is rebirth. That is the nectar-like story that Baba imparts in a heartwarming narration in the 47th. One staunch devotee shared on the manner in which he faced his advocate's examination, and the other a disbelieving Sapatnekar who was granted grace, is in the 48th. Harika Noba, a resident of Bombay, and Somadev Swami, who had a malicious mind, came to Shirdi to test the saint, with pride in their hearts. As soon as the darshan was taken, they were told what their intentions were, and both were right away ashamed. They were attracted to Sai's feet and their sins of many lives were obliterated. While sitting near Baba, Chandorkar's mind was disturbed and his emotions were aroused by seeing a beautiful woman. This story is narrated in the 49th. Raghunath's son, i.e. Govindrav Dabholkar, gives in detail the meaning of Tadvidhi Pranipatna, giving arguments in support and justification. In the 50th, how Dikshit Hari Sitaram, the devotee Balram Dhurandhar and an advocate named Pundalik of Nanded, arrived initially at Shirdi. Each one's story is marvelous. Hearing them, the listeners were amazed and their devotional feelings were aroused. All this is narrated in the 51st. After reviewing the book, Hemad asked for a boon, that the wickedness of the evil-minded be destroyed and that the virtuous are protected. Surrendering at the Sadguru's feet and offering him his head and his pen, the book is completed and his objective is achieved in the 52nd. Govind Rao completed the series of chapters of Sri Sai Satcharita in this manner. I lovingly bow to his feet and also to the Guru, who is the mother of the whole universe. Giving the summary of each chapter is itself called the Avatarnika. It is the right or virtuous path for those desirous of attaining liberation. It may be scornfully neglected, considering it to be a ragged border for a beautiful mantle or robe. But this humble one appeals to the clever listeners to hear it once, just as a black mark is put on the forehead of a plump, lovely child to ward off the evil eye. Bal Deo has applied this black mark in the form of this Avatarnika to this robe. The beautiful book is like a well-flavored meal, and the chapters are like the different items. Buttermilk is necessary for digesting such a meal, if heartily partaken. This Avatarnika is written for that purpose. The book is the ever-fruitful, wish-fulfilling cow, and each of the chapters are holy and pure. The Avatarnika is the necklace of black beads put round the neck to avert the evil or malignant eye. So be it. I will explain to the best of my ability the method that Pant Hemad uses for the compilation of the chapters. Listeners should hear it with respect. At the outset, there is praise for the Sadguru, and then there is narration of the Vedant, description of Sai as Brahman incarnate, followed by narration of experiences. To begin with, Hemad was well versed in Shastra and literature, and with the propitiation of Sadguru Sai he was overnight turned into a genius, so that he could create this book like a well-flavored meal. He who experiences its sweetness and goodness will find that the cycle of birth and death has ended, and the legacy of the liberation will certainly be received. How can the grandeur of the book be described when it has Hemad's lucid language and the sacrament of Sai? Truly, it is the mixture of milk and sugar cane juice. There may be many authors, but they do not have the authority of sacramental language for which a real Sadguru is needed, who is the support of the universe, and the consort of Rama. Even if the Shastras are studied, such a book cannot be written without the Guru's grace. This is absolutely true. Who can describe Sri Sai Satcharita? How incomparably worthy is the book, for which an author like Hemad Pant was found. It is the supreme good fortune for seekers of liberation. As long as the book exists on this earth, its fame will spread amongst the people. Govindrav has given a timely abundance of wealth for the seekers of liberation. Twice blessed is this surpassing book, which is the outcome of Sai Sadguru's favor. It will be honored by seekers of liberation, and it will overcome their poverty of thought. Because of the store of good deeds done in innumerable past lives, Govindrav got this opportunity to do this service for Sai, which bore sweet fruit in the authorship of this book. Hemad Pant was a staunch devotee, poet, and fond of the knowledge to be gained from the Vedant. He was devotedly attached to Sai's feet, day and night. The subject of Vedant is very deep. Without the combination of detachment, devotion and knowledge and the grace of the Guru, it is impossible to write such a book. These are not chapters but sockets of gold in which the priceless gems of the stories have been studied, and from which sparks of knowledge and meaning have been drawn by Govindrav with an immense effort. The different chapters are the fragrant garlands of flowers offered to the neck of Sri Sai Sadguru by Govind, the loving child, to the best of his ability and with pure devotion. The various chapters are pure pots of gold which are filled with Sri Sai Satcharita, like the waters of the Ganges, by the son of Raghunath, to drive away the pride of the seekers of liberation. In the canopy of the battlefield of various books, The son of Raghunath has raised victory pillars of the chapters for destroying the demons of evil feelings, deceit and false pride, with the sword of his intellect. The book is a 5-wick lamp, studded with gems to wave round the king among saints. The chapters narrate the stories which are wicks of oil, the light of which brings detachment and peace. The book is Maya which entices the world. The chapters are arms raised high and the meaning of the stories are bracelets, worn on the upper arm, decorating the body ready to embrace Sai, Brahman incarnate. The Sai Satcharita is the universal sovereign amongst books. The chapters are pleasing, clever minstrels, narrating faith, knowledge, the Vedantic beauty and its vast glory. The Sai Satcharita is the marketplace for spirituality and each chapter therein is an emporium. The stories of the experiences are the objects fully stocked there, arranged neatly by the greatest among the poets. The book is formidable as the span of the Ganges. The chapters are the compacted huts of just proportions. The flow of stories is sweet as nectar and vast, by the Guru's grace and formidable greatness. It is not just a book but a wish-fulfilling tree, which the people engrossed in mundane existence find barren, but for the seekers of liberation it gives only the actual experience of liberation. This alone can be called a real memorial which destroys the darkness and tribulations of the mundane existence and saves from the hell of greed and illusion. It is certainly a giver of peace. The author, Govind Rav, by being a bee at the lotus feet of Sai Sadguru, always savors the newly drawn sweet honey. His surname was Dhabholkar and he was engaged in serving the British government. He was learned, full of humility, well-behaved and well-qualified. Rakhuma Bai was his wife, virtuous, devoted and full of good qualities, dedicated to her husband and always submissive. She had confirmed faith in Sai. Dapoli, near Vengurla, was the original place of domicile of the poet. Later on Kilwa was the village, for the family forefathers. In Sheikh 1781, 1859 AD, on the th day of the dark fortnight of Margashira month, the blessed and meritorious Govind was born to Lakshmi, the wife of Raghunath. He belonged to the god Saraswat Brahmin's caste and to the Bharadwaj Gotra. He died at the age of 17 Sheikh 1851, on the 9th day of the dark fortnight of Ashad month. In Sheikh 1844, 1922 AD, in the month of Chaitra, he commenced writing this book and completed up to the 52nd chapter by Sheikh 1851. 1929 AD, in the month of Jyeshtha. Govindrav had only one son and 5 daughters, of which 4 were married. The son was also married and was studying medicine, and the unmarried daughter was also doing the same. Now I shall mention the procedure of recitation of the book, as well as the easy method of doing a reading within 7 days. As laid down in the Guru Charitra or other such books, listeners are requested to pay attention. Do the recitation with a pure heart and devotion, completing it in 1 day or 2 days or 3 days. Sai Narayan will be gratified. Otherwise, complete it easily in a week and you will have immense good fortune on a continuing basis. Sai will fulfill the heart's desire and the fear of the worldly existence will be destroyed. Begin the recitation on a Thursday, in the early morning after a bath. Sit on your asan, seat for prayer, after quickly completing your usual routine. Make a pleasing, large canopy with banana plants, kardali, and beautiful cloth covering over it, and let it be well decorated. In it, let there be a raised platform for the book, and decorate all the four sides of it with colorful rangoli, which are pleasing for the eyes. Making an image of Sai Sadguru or taking a beautiful picture of him, place it carefully on the high platform. Make obeisance to him with love. Tying the book in a silken cloth, place it near the Sadguru. After worshipping both with Panchupchar, commence the reading. Observe the holy vows for 8 days, having only milk or fruits or roasted grain of any one kind, eating only once or having only one meal, facing the east and keeping the image of the Sadguru in the heart. Do the recitation of the book with a calm mind and with joy. During the 7 days, read the first 8 chapters on the first day, then the next 8 on the second day, followed by next 7 on the third day, then 8, 6, 8 and 7 chapters on the following 4 days, and only Avtarnika on the 8th day. On the 8th day, at the end of the observance of vows and of the offering of Naivedya to Sai Narayana, feed friends, relatives and Brahmins with delicacies and give dakshina to them to the best of one's ability. Inviting the Vedic Brahmins, have them chant the Vedas at night, offer them sugar-flavored milk and give them a respectful send-off after they are well satisfied in body and mind. Finally, after doing obeisance at the Sadguru's feet, offer him appropriate dakshina and send that to the treasury of the Shirdi Sansthan to augment the funds of the Sansthan. Lord Sai will be gratified thereby, and he will bless the devotee. The snake in the form of the worldly existence will be destroyed and the treasure of liberation will be revealed to him. Listeners, may you feel at home with the saint. You may forget the Avatarnika, but keep an eye on the meaning of the book. This is the earnest request of this humble one, at your feet. Virtuous listeners, be very merciful to this humble one till the end of time. I place my head at your feet. Baba's bal praise thus to you. Whatever is very deficient, attribute it to me. Take the essence, you listeners, and act in such a way that the mind is resplendent. Obeisance to Sai, the son of Shiva, i.e. Ganesha. Obeisance to Sai, seated on the lotus, i.e. Brahmadev. Obeisance to Sai, the killer of the demon Madhu, that is Vishnu. Obeisance to Sai, the five-faced Lord, that is Shiva. Obeisance to Sai, the son of Atri, that is Datta. Obeisance to Sai, the killer of the demon Paka, that is Indra. Obeisance to Sai, the lover of the night, i.e. the moon. Obeisance to Sai, the lord of fire. Obeisance to Sai, the consort of Rukmani. Obeisance to Sai, the son of the mind. Obeisance to Sai, the ocean of knowledge. Obeisance to Sri Sai, Gyaneshwara. The Avatarnika is the verbal Pushpanjali, offering of flowers. Similar is the obeisance of glorious names which I have prayed, offering them at the feet of the Guru. Mother Sai be gratified. This is the end of the 53rd chapter of Sri Sai Samartha Satcharita, written by Baba's slave, Bal, impelled by saints and virtuous people, called Avatarnika, epitome. This is offered to Sri Sadguru Sai Nath. May there be auspiciousness,